بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا وعظيمنا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع نفوسنا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين وأصحابه الغر الميامين. الحمد لله الذي جعلنا من المتمسكين بولاية سيدي ومولاي علي بن أبي طالب. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. أما بعد, none of you should say, I seek refuge from trials, for there isn't anyone but that they go through trials. Rather, you should ask that you don't go through trials that result in misguidance. For verily Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, your wealth and your children are a trial from us. What he meant by this was that God was gonna test us with our wealth and with our children to see which ones of us are displeased with what he has given us, and to see which ones of us are happy with what he has given us. Allah knows us better than we know ourselves, but in the form of reward and punishment, God tested some of those who believed that a male child was better than a female child, or those who loved wealth and did not like adversity. The first of our loud salawat in honor of Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. The second even louder salawat in honor of Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. A third with your loudest voices in honor of the Imam of our time, Imam Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman. Respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Hadith 93 of Nahjul Balagha. Imam Ali alayhi salam discusses trials, tests, and tribulations that we all face in life. In Arabic, there are a number of words that are there for tests and trials and tribulations. Sometimes a trial may be known as a fitna. Sometimes a trial may be known as a bala. Sometimes a trial may be known as an imtihan. Every single one of us, at one stage or another, in our life will face either a fitna, a bala, or indeed an imtihan. The bala may be something that has been written in the books that every human being will have to face. It doesn't matter whether you're the most religious person in the community or you're the least religious person in the community. One way or the other, we're all tested. Yes, our actions may, in some cases, make a test easier. Our actions may in some cases bring down more bala on us. Ultimately, a person cannot just blame God and say, why are you testing me? Sometimes, the tests that do come to us in our life are tests that have come to us from where? That have come from our own actions as well. Imam used to always say that when you see a trial in your life, know that it could have been the result of a sin that you've committed. Could have been. That sometimes in our life there are these tests that take place, not because we're blaming the community. Look in the mirror, the answer might be there. But you find that each and every one of us, whether we're in Birmingham or indeed watching online, every single one of us is facing a trial in their life. Some of these trials we openly discuss, some of them we keep inside ourselves. Not everybody has got the ability or the friend circle or the community support for them to be able to open up about a trial. Imagine some of you here are facing a trial with your family members. Who do you talk to? If some of you here, for example, are facing a trial with your mental health, sometimes you're a bit depressed, you're sitting at home, you're just trying to find more purpose in life, and you begin to wonder, who do you talk to? Sometimes you may be in a different trial. Two of your best friends are involved in the mosque, but they don't like each other, and you're in the middle. What do you do? On the one hand, you've got this person you've grown up with. On the other hand, you've got this person you respect. That's also a trial. A trial is not just when a person, for example, goes through a disease in their life, or a virus, or an illness. A trial can also come when it comes to a kalima of haqq. I see that someone in my community has been oppressed. I don't know whether to say something or no. That's why one of the places you'll see where trials and tribulations are discussed the most is Nahjul Balagha. In Nahjul Balagha, Mawla, nobody can discuss trials like him. Because ultimately, Mawla went through 63 years on this earth of trials. There isn't, one may argue, a time in the life of Amir al-Mu'mineen where he was not going through a trial. Sometimes I might turn around and say, why do I always face tests in my life? Why? Habibi, if Ali ibn Abi Talib could face, who are you? Yes? At the end of the day, when you turn around and say, that is it because of all the haram that I've done? Which haram did the Ma'soom do for him to face a trial? At the end, sometimes these trials, when we look at them in Nahjul Balagha, Mawla does something wonderful in Nahjul Balagha. On the one hand, he explains to us the philosophy of trials. On the other hand, he explains his personal relationship with trials. Then what he does is he tells us what we should do when we are in the middle of a trial. And then after that, he tells us the signs of the pious when they face a trial. Because everyone here in this jama'at and watching this lecture, all of us call ourselves muttaqeen, don't we? As in when someone asks you what, I say, I'm a man of taqwa. I'm a mu'min. If you truly are a man of taqwa, what Nahjul Balagha does wonderfully is that Mawla defines taqwa in relation to trials. Because ultimately, what is it that you're going to see in life? That gold will shine after it's been through intense burning in some cases. Or it's been through intense processing in some cases. Or it's been intense from one place to another. That's when you see who shines and who doesn't. In Nahjul Balagha, therefore, tonight's analysis, we'll see how Imam Ali alayhi salam opens up on the world of fitna, on the world of bala, on the world of imtihan. And in reality, there is no one better than Ali ibn Abi Talib to open that world for you. If now you want to understand perspective of life, when it comes to trials, look what Nahjul Balagha has said, and your perspective on life will change completely. Let's tonight examine trials, tests, and tribulations through the eyes of Imam Ali alayhi salam. And I'd like to do this in the following stages. In the first line of this hadith, Mawla says, none of you should say, I seek refuge from trials. What Quranic ayah is Mawla representing in this first part of the khutbah? Number two, if now a person asks the question, why should there be tests in my life? Are all tests bad for a human? And what would a GCSE or A-level student tell you about this answer? Number three, if someone offered you a chance to come to Earth and live on Earth while you were living on another planet, but there was a package that included tests, would you book the flight or stay in another planet? That's number three. Number four, how does Mawla highlight? A test is fine, but the one that makes me doubt Allah is the one I should be careful of. And how many tests are there in life which could make us doubt our Lord? Further than that, how does Mawla show? Too much attachment to your wealth or too much attachment to your kids can bring your downfall. So just be careful you don't obsess about the two, for they could come back to burn you. And which prophets of Allah found that their wealth or their children became a test for them in their life? Further than that, how does Imam Ali's companion asks him, what is a muttaqi? Who are the muttaqeen, the people of taqwa? What does he say about the muttaqeen when it comes to their taqwa? Especially when it comes where? Especially when it comes to the time of trial. How are they in relation to the time of comfort? If my community wants to test me, what should I be like? How does Mawla compare that test to an adolescent camel? What a brilliant example he gives. Further than that, if the Ahlul Bayt were tested, then where was their biggest test? And how did those mothers face a test with their children on that day? Let's examine this and dissect the topic in complete depth. Hadith 93, Nahjul Balagha. Mawla begins straight away. What does he say? None of you should say, I seek refuge in Allah, I seek protection in Allah from trials, from fitan, because nobody can get away from being tested. This is, of course, the blueprint of Quran. The Quran tells us that every single one of you will be one day tested one way or the other. If we have that perspective of the Quran, believe you me, when a test comes, the first thing we'll say is, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. If you look in the Quran, in Surah Al-Baqarah, from verse 155 onwards, you find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, there are different areas of your life I'm going to try you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ. And we will try you with a little. بِشَيْءٍ, number one, وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ. First thing we're going to trial you in your life. Some of you may be tested with a moment of fear. Those of you who were in Uganda in the 70s, all of a sudden when you're told to leave, what's that feeling at that moment? That's not a person who's leaving and saying that, you know what, Alhamdulillah, I'm going to lose all my properties and Mr. Amin is going to take over everything. No, that's a person who's in a state of fear. That person could have easily turned around at that moment and said, why is Allah doing this to me? No, Allah says, if you read the Quran and you reflected on the Quran, then the Quran I told you, وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ. There's going to be some fear in your life. Ask the Iraqis who had to leave Saddam's Iraq. Ask those East Africans who had to leave. Ask those who had to leave, for example, the land of Pakistan because their own school was getting killed by people. What is that feeling? That's a real trial of fear. For me to walk around a place maybe in my life and I feel fear that because of my identity I could end up being killed, then that could be a trial that is my trial in life. وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ. Hunger as well. There are people in Africa today, wallah, their test at iftar time is hunger. We are breaking our fast. Some of us are overindulging in our breaking of the fast. Some of us might even complain to our mom that, Mom, why did you do this or do that? And then you have people in Africa, wallah, or even in Iraq, chicken and meat is seen as a luxury for them. It's a luxury. We see chicken and meat as a norm. For them, this is a luxury. They are going through a trial of hunger. When you see a famine and you see a country where people's bones are showing in their body, under their skin, that's a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no doubt. وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِّنَ الْأَمْوَالِ. Those who've been bankrupt, how big a test is it when you're bankrupted? How big a test is it when your business falls? Especially if you have a community that's keeping up with the Joneses. There's two types of communities in the world. There's one, when you fall, we'll pick you up. Come here, don't worry. There's another, when you fall, we'll laugh at your fall. Well, true community is the one that has enough members of that community to say that when you've fallen, come home, let's talk. Let's devise a plan for you to get back on your feet again. نَقْصٍ مِّنَ الْأَمْوَالِ. And what else? مِّنَ الْأَنفُسِ. Sometimes you may lose lives, those of you who've lost children in your life. The Quran has said it. Don't say, I didn't know. Don't say, why Allah? Don't say, why Nahjul Balagha? Imam Ali says, none of you should say, I seek protection from trial. There isn't any human on this earth. Because sometimes, what happens to us? We think the grass is greener on the other side, don't we? So when we're going through a trial at home, we're like, how comes their marriage is good and mine isn't? If you come and see their marriage. Come to us, the ones who are meant to be counselors and maulanas and so on. Come to us. We'll tell you how sometimes those Facebook pics are covering the defects in the marriage. Where the more you see them smiling, sometimes the more trouble there is at home. But sometimes you have to keep an image to keep everything alive. But we have a problem, we keep up with the Joneses, or we think the grass is green on the other side. So therefore, نَقْصًا مِنَ الْأَنفُسِ نَقْصًا مِنَ الثَّمَرَاتِ, I may continue to have losses in different areas. When Imam Ali alayhi salam therefore said that none of you should say, I seek refuge from trials. It's not that Mawla said, don't read dua. Naturally, read dua. But don't ever reach a level where you expect that you will not be tested. There could be a test around the corner. And that's why we have a hadith. What is it? Al-mu'min mubtala. The mu'min is tested by Allah. Ayatollah al-Khumaini, may Allah bless his soul. He has a lovely line in his analysis of this area. What does he say? In his analysis of this area of al-mu'min mubtala, the mu'min is tested. He says that when someone goes through a trial, you'll see them saying, but I'm a mu'min, so I have to be tested. He said they've lost all possible thawab at that moment. Why? Because now you actually believe you've reached the level of mu'min. Who said you are a mu'min? No. When someone tells me that I'm going through a hard time, but because you're a mu'min, and a person's like, yes, I'm a mu'min. So Allah does, Imam al-Sadiq says that the mu'min is tested, so I have to be tested. Who told you you've reached the level of being mu'min? You may be someone who hasn't ticked off what the Shia characteristics are. He used to say, never reach a level where you say, because I'm a mu'min, Allah has tested me. No, say I'm a normal human, and I will use the religion and the ibadah of the religion of Islam to try and get through these trials. Therefore, when Mawla begins the sermon, what does he say? He begins by saying, none of you should say, I seek refuge from trials. Because all of us will go through trials. And subhanAllah, the spice of life is that trials build the human being, not break them. If a person understands a trial, they'll build a human. I was speaking to someone who had cancer. They went through chemo. You know how harrowing and difficult chemotherapy is, yes? Anyone you've met in your life who've been through chemo, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not show anyone the trial of going through something like that. The person said to me, Sayyidina, that trial, that test rebuilt my soul. Allah. But how? My body may have gone weaker, but my soul's relation with Allah got stronger. Yes? How many here could say that in life, one trial made us stronger, not made us weaker? How? Ask someone who's been in finance and economics. A recession can sometimes break you, but you can also rebuild yourself afterwards again. Sometimes ask someone who's a sailor on a ship, a captain. He'll say, without the stormy waves, I could never have become the greatest sailor in the world. If I went through the sea without waves, which are stormy, then I could never reach a level which I could face any difficulty. Ask anybody in their field, even if on the most trivial level, football players, sports stars, you will see those who've gone through the trial of a broken leg, come back and win a competition 1 year. They'll say, but how were you feeling when you broke your leg? Said, it was the hardest time, but I used the trial to become stronger. In life, GCSE A-level students here, I ask you, when someone says, why does God test us? Why do we have tests in our life? I reply by saying, when did we not have tests in our life? Key stage 3, I'm going back to my old age now. The kids might laugh. But key stage 3, there used to be something called SATs. I don't know if these things are still around. It doesn't look like they're around from what everyone's looking at me. But there used to be key stage 3 SATs. And then GCSEs, what did we have? We had about 11 subjects we were tested on. I don't know if it's increased, if it's decreased. Those tests, why are we going through tests? Because someone thinks, oh, religion test, religion trial, religion bala. What's religion got to do with my GCSEs? Why is it inculcated in me? from the age of 12, 14, 16 that I need to be tested. For what reason? Because if I don't go through those tests, I cannot grow strong as a human to face life. When I went to college, if I want to go to the best places, I need to get through tests. University, tests. Work. Wallah, there are some doctors today still tests more in their life. You say, Baba, you're a consultant, so still more tests. You go to some people in engineering, still more tests. Opticians, still more tests. Dentists, still more tests. Pharmacists, still more tests. Why? Because the flavor of life, and this is an important point I want everyone to focus on. The flavor of life, there would be no flavor if there were no tests. I'm not saying all tests are easy. Please don't take me wrong. But the flavor of our life, whether you're Muslim or not Muslim, the thing that continues to make us stronger, grow, develop, mature is our tests. Someone turned around to me and said, Sayyidina, but why those tests on this earth? Why could Allah not have been kinder to us? I use an example where I turn the situation around. If you were living in a planet like Mars, nothing's happening, yeah, let's say, or any of the other planets, and then someone said to you, there's a first-class flight to go to a planet called Earth. When you get to Earth, you can enjoy the most beautiful seas to swim in. And you can enjoy as well at the same time the most beautiful resorts. You could also get married to someone equivalent of the creations. You could also be somebody who is able to own a car that could go to an unbelievable high speed. You could also be someone who enjoys many other pleasures. You can enjoy, for example, building what you want to build. You can also be somebody who enjoys how to write books on this planet. There is an atmosphere on the planet that allows you to grow. You don't have to worry about it being too cold or too hot. You can actually still survive. But the ticket for this planet costs you about £500. The person's like, straight away, okay, I'm willing to do that. There may be some tests along the road, but you'll still enjoy. Listen. You're still going to have parents you're going to be around. You're going to eat. You could go to beautiful resorts, swim in the fine sea, go across deserts, see animals the likes of which you've never seen. But there might be some tests along the way. I ask all of you here, how many of you would have booked a ticket to try that experience? Because if you turn it around when it comes to Earth, wallah, sometimes when we go to certain resorts, why have I paid £5,000 to go to the Maldives? Why am I paying this much to go there? Because I want to experience something different, don't I? If I want to go to the Grand Canyon, I want to go to a Colosseum. Why do I travel and pay? Because I want to experience. I ask you, along the way, when you want to travel to these areas, they're not trials when you get there. There might be a trial at the airport. I'm giving the metaphor here. A trial getting your hotel booking may be late. But you're still going to pay to make sure that you have some of that experience. This is the dunya. This world, there is so much to enjoy. But part of the package could be that in that world that you're enjoying, you're going to have to face a couple of tests. If I were to ask you in the last year, how many tests could you tell me you faced and how many blessings have you had in life? Which one is more, blessings or tests? Blessings, I would say. The very fact that I'm sitting in Majlis al-Hussein alayhi salam without fearing for my life is the greatest blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. True? If you don't mind, focus here on this point. Don't let one test ruin your perspective on life. Shaitan will do that to you. Shaitan has a habit that one test, he'll make it stick in your head forever. Don't be happy, don't be happy. Remember, this is still happening in your personal life. Don't be happy. Why? Why shouldn't I be? On the contrary, the Quran told me that I'll be tested. And my Amir told me that I'll be tested. So you know what? Bring it on. And that's where you have the highest levels of spiritual characteristics that grow in your life. What are they? The first of them is that one characteristic that grows that we'll come to in these nights is sabr. But you know, sabr, anyone can have, Muslim and non-Muslim. Non-Muslim can have sabr. Muslim can have. Why? Why can both have sabr with a test? Because you're forced to have sabr. What can you do? What am I going to do? If cancer's all over my body, what do? I run away from sabr? But a Muslim takes it to another level, which is not only am I patient, I'm pleased with whatever you've planned. That's a higher level. One level is sabr. The second is when you say, Ya Allah, whatever is your plan, I'm pleased with. Because inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi. Ultimately, where did I come from? Who do I belong to? So where am I going to return? Allah. So why shouldn't I be happy with the plan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? I should be fortunate that He allowed me to be born. هل أتى على الإنسان حين من الدهر لم يكن شيئا مذكورا. There was a period I wasn't even worth mentioning. Wallah. إنا خلقنا الإنسان من نطفة أمشاج نبتليه فجعلناه سميعا بصيرا. We created man from a sperm-like clot to trial that man. Ultimately, on this package called Earth, because you know, people like Stephen Fry, you know Stephen Fry, the famous British comedian, and of course, one of the main thinkers in British thought, Stephen Fry would always say, if I meet God, I'm going to say to God that why did that child have cancer? It's a good point. It's a good point. Because if there's one area that I cannot explain, I don't know how to defend, is why is it that a 6-year-old has cancer? Why? Why, God? It's a difficult one, isn't it? Those of you who have family members you've seen, when you hear that your child or your, someone related to you and they have cancer as a 6-year-old, you're like, how do I explain this one? The reality is, there is no explanation except what? Except the fact of one thing. What is that thing that we come to in our life? I have to recognize that on this earth, part of this earth, being on it, there's going to be a lot of happiness and smiles, but there's a chance there's going to be some difficult moments. It's part of the package. Part of that package, it's there. Free will is a lovely thing. It's an unbelievable thing. Which animal has free will? Except the social animal, that's the human being. All these other animals live by instinct. I live by free will. I can enjoy so much in this dunya. But there's one risk, and it's part of the package of free will that we have. And that is that there is a chance that I could be tested with what? With my own most beloved. Look what Mawla says. None of you should say, I seek refuge from being tested. All of you will be tested. Rather, you should say, Oh Allah, protect me from that trial that may result in my misguidance and not believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the one thing I pray to Allah. That, Ya Allah, give me any test. I've been through SATs, GCSEs, A-levels, uni. I need all of these exams done. I'm with them. I'm with exams. But there's one exam, Ya Allah, don't give me an exam that shakes my faith in you. Someone says, well, Sayyidina, how did you get past that? You get past that by saying that I am ready at any second to submit to inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. I'm ready to submit. On this earth, my money is not mine, it's an amana. All treasure belongs to who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Never walk around when someone asks you for a donation, yeah, I'll think about it. Say, no. If Allah blesses me, inspires me, I'll try and give some of the money Allah deposited with me. There are some, when they look at having money, what is their thought? Their thought is, this is mine. I earned it. Nobody else. The reality is no. If you believe you are a custodian or you're in charge of Allah's funds on earth, when you lose it, you're like, my Lord, it's your funds. If you can give it to me again, then I would be honored. You give all of submission. What is Tawheed? Tawheed is to submit oneself completely to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes? Mawla, then what does he say? He says, verily Allah said in the Quran, your wealth and your children are a trial from us. No doubt. So then he said, the meaning of that is what? Is that he will test you with your wealth or test you with your children to see which ones of you are displeased with what he's given you and which ones of you are pleased with what he's given you. It's unbelievable. In the Quran, what does Allah say? وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّمَا أَمْوَالُكُمْ وَأَوْلَادُكُمْ فِتْنَةٌ. Know that your wealth and your children are a test from us. No doubt. One way or the other, we're going to be tested with either our wealth or we'll be tested with what? With our children. Sometimes we may end up so obsessed with these two that people have become atheists from monotheists because of how obsessed they are with these two. Have you noticed? There are some, if they lose their wealth, they don't pray anymore. I've seen people, when their business is down, they don't pray any prayer for 6 months. Only when the business comes back up and everyone's in a good mood, suddenly everyone begins to pray salah again. Otherwise, when the business is down, you'll see people, no prayer. Why? Because they're so obsessive with their wealth. In some cases, there are people, their identity is their wealth. Do you know there are some people who fell bankrupt? When they fell bankrupt, they wouldn't come mosque anymore. So, Baba, why don't you come mosque anymore? In the past, when they used to come mosque, their chest was out. What does Imam Ali say about the peacock in Nahjul Balagha? It lets out its feathers because it's insecure about its skinny legs. He used to come to the mosque. What was he? He was his car, really, nothing more. Or he had bought some big house and everyone says, that's the rich guy, come in. As soon as the person lost the money, scared to come to the mosque because nothing else to offer. Too obsessed with that wealth. Nothing wrong with a person earning. We said this in previous majalis. But Mawla says, Allah might test you with your wealth. Then there are others. You tell them, why don't you give from your wajibat in terms of wealth? I believe that, you know what, I give to whoever I want to. No, but you have wajibat. There are some groups you have to give your wealth to. Because someone might turn around and say, I don't need to pay khums. Say, why don't you need to pay khums? Says, because, you know what, I will give who I like to. Yes, but khums is for a specific group of people. It's not for just who you like to. There is a specific group where it's meant to go to. You attack the one who stole wealth from Fatima, you may end up being one who takes away from Fatima. Yes? I now have certain wajibat that I have to give. I obsess over my wealth. Allah may be testing me with my wealth. That's one area where Allah could test me. Another area where Allah could test me is with my children. Too obsessed about my children, I could easily be tested with my kids. And mind you, let me make something very clear here. Those of you who your kids have not come out as religious as you've wanted them to come out, it's a major trial. Listen, there are some of you here, for example, your daughters don't wear hijab. It's not easy. Your dream, I would hope, of course, as a mu'min, your dream would be that your daughter wears hijab one day. But while she doesn't, it's a trial. There are some who have sons who don't pray in this hall. Sometimes a person turns around and says, have I done haram? No, it could just be that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decided that your test of how grateful you are for what we've given you will come either in your wealth or will come in your children. What does Mawla continue to say? Mawla says, because Allah knows that some of them would have preferred a male and disliked a female child, or they preferred wealth and disliked adversity. Listen to these two lines. Firstly, the Arabs, what did they used to like? They used to love the birth of a male. If a female came to them, what would they do? Bury the girl alive. That daughter of yours is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a blessing and a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You pass the test. In which way? By burying your daughter alive. Wallah, they used to get the girl, they used to bring her, put her in the ground and pour sand all over her until she stops breathing. And if you see the list of names, I won't bring their names here on Mimbar. If you see the list of names of the ones who in Jahiliyyah, before they became Muslim, the ones who used to bury their daughter alive, one of them, one of the most famous of them, he says, she touched my beard before I buried her alive and it really affected me, but I still buried her alive. Yep. Here it came a test. Even in our communities, by the way, there are sometimes, you know, your grandma, when she's like, another girl. You're like, yeah, but grandma, what's wrong? She says, when is she going to bring a boy? So, okay, girl number one. Number two, another girl. Number three, is she still not giving you a daughter? Yeah, but grandma, what's wrong? So if I get 3 daughters, automatically Jannah pass. True? Look how Islam changed it. Islam said, VIP pass to Jannah if you have 3 daughters. What was the mentality of some of our cultures? Look how Ali ibn Abi Talib talks about this 1,000 years ago. It affects us until today. That there are some who dislike when they have a female. They prefer if it was a male. They look at the wife. She only gives me daughters. You should thank Allah that you've been given those girls. There are people out there who cannot have children, and you have children and you complain about the gender of the child. How low could you be? Hence the Holy Prophet said, a person who has 3 daughters, automatically Jannah waits for them. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, what? There are some who want wealth. We test them if they have adversity. Yes? One of the tests Allah may give us, never take your money for granted. That house you've saved up for, mortgage you worked hard for, any second, that house could be taken away from you. If it's taken away, your response determines where you are spiritually. One group will say, I've begun to doubt Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because I'm a mu'min, I pray namaz, I go mosque, I go ziyarah. How could he take you away? Since when did you become the owner of the heavens and the earth? Yes? At the end, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam can live in a period of poverty, if Moses can wander on the earth, not knowing where his next house is going to be, how dare you think you should be rich and those two could face trials in their life? Because here's a fundamental point. There are prophets of Allah who were tested with wealth. So who am I not to be tested with wealth? True? On the one hand, you've got prophets who are mega rich. Name me 2 prophets who are mega wealthy. 2 prophets. Dawood and Sulaiman, mega wealthy. Why did Allah make them wealthy? So that the poor Muslims never make fun of the rich. We have a habit, when you think you're a religious Muslim, what do? You look down at rich people. Because you're like, rich people, they are people of dunya. No. Then Dawood and Sulaiman can be waiting for you guys. Be like, come here, hey, come, sit down. Have you not seen my house? Which house can you bring? The Queen of Sheba came to my house, became a Muslim because of my house. Remember when she lifted her dress? You know the story in the Quran. When she entered, she lifted her dress because she thought it was water. It turned out to be the finest glass with water under it. You tell me, when a person has an infinity pool, are they a munafiq? Why? If they've earned in halal, let them have 1,000,000 swimming pools. Islam is not a religion. Communism, everyone has to be equal. Allah decides rizq, not communism. Yes? There are rich, there are poor, but the rich have a responsibility to the poor have a responsibility to the rich. Did Allah test Dawood and Sulaiman with their wealth? Yes, that was a test. What we don't realize is that tests aren't always in bad times. Sometimes your tests are in your good times. Ali ibn Abi Talib, his companion Humam, says to him, tell me about the people of taqwa. He says, in their trials and in their period of comfort, they act the same. Allahu Akbar. Subhanallah. In their trials, this is in Nahjul Balagha, Imam Ali describing what is a muttaqi. He says a muttaqi in his trial and his comfort, he's the same character. Comes mosque smiling in both. When the mosque needs a donation, donates at both. Namaz, same energy. Energy with the people always the same. You want to test yourself? Don't test yourself when things are good. When things go bad, are you the same person with everyone? If you are, welcome to Jannah. If, however, you're the type of person, when things are going well, your donations are big, you're coming mosque, you're smiling with your family, you're laughing with everyone. When they go bad, you become the complete opposite. You are far from taqwa. Because do you know what you are? You are someone whose happiness depends on selfishness, not Allah. You become selfish. Only if I'm doing well, everyone will see the good side of me. The sign of a munafiq is they love to be around people because they'll praise them. When they are alone, they hate it. Whereas with us, when we come towards our wealth, what does Mawla say? The person of taqwa is the person, whether they are in a state of trial or they're in a state of comfort, they are exactly the same person. You will not notice even that when he comes mosque, he's going through a hard time because he has the same smile. How many of you are going through a trial in life right now, but your behavior has not changed when you've come mosque? That is a sign that your taqwa is good. You might be going through something hard at home. There might be a real personal test that you're facing. Each and every one of us is facing a test. But when you come mosque, your salam is still the same. Why? Because you realize this dunya is fickle, akhirah is greater. True? A person realizes, Baba, dunya. On the one hand, Dawood and Sulaiman were tested with their wealth. On the other hand, Musa and the Holy Prophet were tested, and Ayub alayhi salam were tested with their wealth. How? Dawood and Sulaiman were tested with great amounts of wealth. Ayub was tested with having no wealth. Sometimes we imagine a test is only bad things. Sometimes a test is when I've given you a lot, I want to see how do you behave the more I give you. On the one hand, Dawood and Sulaiman, Allah gave them palaces. He tested them with palaces. On the other hand, Ayub, Allah took his family away. Allah took his children away. Allah took his health away. Allah took his money away. And he still said what? Shukran lillah. And then when Ayub turned around to Allah, he said, Ya Allah, have I done enough? When Allah gave him everything back, he said to him, Ya Allah, have I done enough? Have I thanked you enough? You took my money, you took my wife, you took my children, you took my health. I always said shukr to you. Have I done enough? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said you could never have done enough. He said to him, why? He said, even the word shukr I taught you how to say to me. Even the word shukr is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What do I say? Shukr for shukr? Thank you for thank you? Even that is a blessing from who? From Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, Allah tested prophets with their wealth. Allah tested prophets with their children. How many prophets can you name me? All of you, I want you to focus on this. How many prophets can you name whose children came out as disbelievers? But he's a prophet. Because sometimes mothers and fathers, don't be too hard on yourself. Sometimes I know that there are mums and dads. Is it because I'm a munafiq? Is it because I was bad when I was younger? Is that why my boys turned out? No, relax. Nabi Nuh was not bad when he was younger. His son died kafir. Nabi Nuh, what did he do wrong when he was younger? Nothing. Nabi Nuh never smoked drugs. Nabi Nuh never went to a club. Nabi Nuh never done zina. Nabi Nuh never done alcohol. Never done any of those. Why did his son come out kafir? Allah decided your son will be the test for you. Don't say to someone, you know your kids are like that. This is karma. La'natullah al-karma. Yes? If karma was about this idea that because I've done something, what goes around comes around. No. I don't need karma. I have the Quran. It tells me. All of you will be tested with something. Simple. And that test for Nuh made Nuh grow in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because Nuh, when he saw his son holding on to the mountain, didn't he say, but he's my son? Even a prophet of Allah was obsessed to a level because he's a father. That's my boy. And Allah replied to him and says, he is no longer of your family. Don't be too obsessed. Come back a little. Come back. Don't take your energy where you ruin yourself because of your child. There's one story in the Quran, I could go into it, but I'm not going to. But I'll just give you a hint about it. Is that sometimes when Allah takes a child away from a family, and you wonder, why, Ya Allah, you've taken that child from that family? And then Khidr tells Musa, because you don't know what that child would have done later in his life. Yes? Later, would you have preferred to have a child who is in your family but takes you away from Ahlul Bayt, or a child that is out of your family but you stick on the path of Ahlul Bayt? If someone was to ask you, you could lose your child, but had your child grown up, he would have taken you away from Ahlul Bayt. Or you keep the child and you leave the path of Ahlul Bayt. Which one would you do? Which one? It's a big test. But what does it show us? Don't be too obsessed. Because you could end up ruining yourself. Nabi Nuh, his son, Nabi Nuh faced the test. Which other prophet faced the test with his son? Yaqub faced the test with his sons who tried to kill their brother by throwing him in a well and claiming a wolf had ate him and so on and so forth. Which other prophets in the Quran faced the test with his son? Adam, Qabil killed. I ask you, Nabi Adam, what? He had smoked drugs in his life. Nabi Adam had done haram in his life. Because he is a sinner, Allah punished him with his children. Well, no, Baba, no. At the end, it's not your fault. Allah has a plan for everybody. What you should not do is become so obsessive where your child comes ahead of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No. I have a responsibility as a parent. My child has a right to have a good name. I've given you a good name, someone to live up to in your life. My child has a right to be taught akhlaq. I've taught you akhlaq. My child has a right to be taught the Quran. I've taught you the Quran. After that, what you decide after the age of 18, that's between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I can inculcate in you, but don't kill yourself if your child has not gone on a path. What you can do is you pray for the guidance of that particular child. Therefore, what did Mawla say? Mawla turned around and said that Allah tests them with their wealth and with their children to see which ones of them preferred the male and disliked the female, and which one of them said we want wealth and disliked adversity. Sometimes that adversity, the test of us was whether we say shukr even when things are bad. That was our test. The moment you can go down and say shukr in salah 3 times, then you should be ready for the day of judgment saying, Ya Allah, I thanked you when you took everything away from me. So Ya Allah, open the doors for me now. And I doubt Arhamar Rahimin would close them on you. I doubt that he would close them on you. Ali ibn Abi Talib then turns around, what does he say? He says, if you see a fitna, it could be tested with fitna in the community. What should you do? I am in a community. There's 2 groups in this community. One group in this community wants majalis to begin at 7:30. Another group wants majalis to begin at 9:45. This one's my mates, that one's my mates. What do? Do I have to give an opinion? Not necessarily. How does he describe it? Mawla says that when you see a fitna, a trial like that, trial is not no longer just wealth and children. Sometimes trial may be within your community, be like the adolescent camel. Be like the adolescent camel whose back is not strong enough to be ridden and who yet does not have the others to be milked. What a man. Adolescent camel. The back is not strong enough to be ridden. Meaning that don't use me for your fights. But also you cannot milk me. You want something to be sorted out? There's a way to sort it out. Because some of us in that period of trial, what do? I'm in their side. And they use you, and they abuse you, and they hide. And this one will say, I'm on their side. Ali ibn Abi Talib said, be like the adolescent camel. Your back is not yet strong enough to be ridden, and you cannot be milked as well. Sit back, take the positives of both groups. There could be good in both groups in a community. Don't ever reach a level where you are someone in the middle of a fitna, in the middle of a trial, where groups can use you as their cannon for that. Because wallah, it happens in our Shia community today. There are certain trials that we face as a Shia community. And you'll always find people, wallah, I feel sorry for some. They are used as the chessboards in a proxy war. Wallah, they are used as the chess pawns in a proxy war. And this person thinks, I'm fighting the cause to serve Imam Sahib al-Asr. He doesn't know he's being used, and one day they'll discredit the person. Yes? Rather, when you see a trial like that in the community, Allah sometimes will not test you with your wealth, or with your health, or with your children. He'll test you with your stand in a particular situation. Don't go extreme one way or extreme the other. Do not let yourself be ridden and do not let yourself be milked. And that's why Mawla Nahjul Balagha says, if you want to know someone who went through trials, I went through trials. Wallah. Wallah. Saqifa, you think was easy for him? You think Saqifa was easy? I have given nothing back to the religion of Islam. I have given nothing back. And yet sometimes I, as a human, may feel injustice. Imagine I gave Badr and Uhud and Khandaq and Khaybar. I am the one who was there at Hunayn when people were running away for fun in battles. People were running in Uhud, God knows where they ran. And in Hunayn, God knows where they ran. And the son of Abu Talib always at the front. And then all of a sudden, Rasulullah dies. Where is he? Where is Amir al-Mu'mineen? They've gone. Do you know what a trial that was? He describes it in Nahjul Balagha. Don't say, why am I being tested? Look at Ali ibn Abi Talib's test. Having given everything, because sometimes someone says, you know how much I've given this jama'ah? Do you know how much Baba, relax. Relax. If you gave it for Allah, Allah will reward you. And if you gave it for yourself, then you should be displeased with yourself. But Ali ibn Abi Talib, he gave all of that for Allah. Then he said after Saqifa and Nahjul Balagha sermon number 3, that I thought, should I assault Or should I calmly endure the darkness of tribulation, where grown men become feeble, and the young grow old, and the one who wants to live as a true believer lives under strain? Imagine. But look at what he calls this test. I was deciding between whether I should assault or calmly endure the darkness of tribulation. Not just test, the darkness of test. Where grown people become feeble, young people suddenly age, and those with the truth live with it under strain. There was a pricking in the eye and a mortification in my throat. There is no description ever by any human being on what it feels like when everyone in the community has backstabbed you like Mawla. I may be backstabbed by some people in the community. You may be backstabbed by some people. And sometimes people even say to me, Sayyidina, you know, when you give majalis and you go around the world, and there are people who, of course, respect you and they like you, and then there are people who absolutely hate you. I said, who am I, Baba? If you could hate Mawla, who am I? Mawla could go through hate. Who am I? Amir al-Mu'mineen has not put a foot wrong. I put feet wrong. Amir al-Mu'mineen has not put 1 foot wrong. And look at the way he was tested by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That, oh Ali, what would you do? And how many people came to him and said, we'll help you, we'll get your leadership back. Nah, you can't get to me. No problem. Allah has promised that the greatest people are tested. And if a mu'min is tested, how about Amir al-Mu'mineen? But in this day and age when we are tested, no doubt when we are down because of a trial, when we feel bad because of a disease, we sometimes think, who do I relate to? One day I relate to Moses and the Prophet. Another day I relate to, for example, Amir al-Mu'mineen. But there is no day to relate to like the 10th of Muharram. Yes? If ever you go through a trial in your life and you wonder, why me? Why did I go through? I ask you, why Zainab alayhi salam? Why? What had she done wrong? Okay, me, I've put feet wrong. But how does Zainab go through the trials that she goes through? The difference with Zainab was what? She thanked Allah for the trial, which is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Would you ever thank God for putting you through a trial? Okay, let me say the question again. Would you thank God for putting you through a trial, having lost your 2 boys? I know the Quran says, we will test you with your children. But seeing Aoun fall in front of Muhammad like that, how do you remain so strong, O Zainab? How? And if you were a mother of someone like Akbar, how did you remain that strong? How? How? You remain that strong? I go through a trial. If I've lost a child, I'll say, where are the ladies of the 10th of Muharram? Those are true trials. Wallah, those are trials. Because we may lose a member of our family. It's hard when you've lived with them for years and then you see Akbar's body return. And then you are a mother and you see Qasim's body return. And then you're a mother. Imagine the trials those mothers had to face, but there's one mother in particular. Her trial was the biggest. I see my boy killed in front of me. At least I know my boy is now passed away. But when I have to wait for news of what's happened to my boys. A mother, if her child goes to school, if he's 1 minute late, 1 minute she's late, the mother breaks. 5 minutes, 1 hour, police, neighbors, hi. Imagine al-Baneen in Medina. Zainab knew Aoun Muhammad have died. That's a test, major. Rabab, the baby's neck is torn. It's a major trial. Akbar's mom, broken. But there's a lady in Medina who's saying, is there any news from Karbala? Tonight is for the lovers of al-Baneen. This is your night. Those who have hajat. Say, Ya Allah, I ask you in the name of al-Banin tonight. I ask you in the name of that mother who gave 4 to Hussein. Not 1. Rabab, Zainab, Ramla, Layla, 1, 2, yes. Al-Banin 4. 4 she gave to Fatima al-Zahra. 4. But if you lost them all, that's a trial. But the worst feeling, do you know what a worst feeling human goes through? Is when they hear someone has died and they have to go on a flight to go to see the person who's died. How many of you heard your dad died, you had to travel to go to his janazah? Or you weren't there when he died and you had to wait for the news of hearing about your father's death? It breaks your heart that you are not there. Imagine a mum could not bury her own. She was waiting and waiting and waiting until someone came to Medina. He said, I have news from Karbala. He said, I have news from Karbala. She said to him, tell me about what's happened in Karbala. She wants to know what's going on in Karbala. Give me news. He said to her, he asked from the people, he said to them, and who is this lady? They said, you don't know who that lady is? He said, no, tell me. They said, that's al-Banin, Abbas's mother. Yes. He said to her, may Allah reward you over the death of your son, Abdullah. She said, tell me about Aba Abdullah. Allahu Akbar. She's the mother of 4 boys, but her son is Hussein. That's all she cares about. She said, tell me about Aba Abdullah. The person said to her, may Allah reward you over the death of your son, Uthman. She said, tell me about Aba Abdullah. He said to her, may Allah reward you over the death of your son, Ja'far. She said, tell me about Aba Abdullah. He said to her, al-Banin, may Allah reward you over the death of your son Abbas. When she heard Abbas's name, she had Abbas's child in her hand. She dropped with the child on the ground. Then she got up and said, tell me about Hussein. That's all I want to know. If you gave me all the heavens and the earth and you gave me 70 Abbas, I'd swap all of them to see the head of Hussein in peace. Allah, what love is that? Wallah, what love. I'd swap 70 Abbas to see the head of Hussein in peace. al-Banin, when you lose someone and you face that trial, you obviously want to seek condolences. You want to seek solace with someone. Where did she go? She went to the house of Zainab alayha salam. Yes. Imagine the scene, my dear brothers and sisters. She went to the house of Zainab, but Zainab had told Bibi Fidda, she said to her, Fidda, don't let anyone see me. Anyone who knocks, tell them I cannot see them. Suddenly a knock came on the door. Fidda answered the door. Who was it? It was al-Banin. Fidda turned around to Bibi Zainab. She said to her, my auntie Zainab. She said to her, yes. She said, you told me not to welcome anyone. She said, yes. She said to her, it's al-Banin at the door. Zainab ran into the door and al-Banin ran into Zainab. Zainab calling out, Wa Abbasa, and al-Banin calling out, Wa Husayna, and the rest of them were screaming, Wa Shahida. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Ya Allah, whatever trials you give us in life, allow us to remain on your path, Ya Allah. Strengthen our iman so that we may face every test with perseverance and patience, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, strengthen us with whatever test we face. Strengthen our sons and our daughters, Ya Allah. the originators of this majlis, Ya Allah. Bless them with the shafa' of Muhammad and Al Muhammad. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and inshallah we will continue with the question and answer session after this majlis. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the Surah Al-Fatiha, but before it the loudest of your salawat. Allahumma salli ala. Bismillah ar-Rahman.